welcome to Story Focus. Here, stories come to life. We journey through captivating tales together. Whether you're here to relax, learn, or escape into another world, there's a story waiting for you. Let's dive in.
Sophie put on a summer dress and hurried down to the kitchen. Her mother was standing by the kitchen table. Sophie decided not to say anything about the silk scarf. "Did you bring in the newspaper?" she asked. Her mother turned. "Would you get it for me?" Sophie was out of the door in a flash down the gravel path to the mailbox. Only the newspaper she couldn't expect an answer so soon. She supposed. On the front page, the paper read something about the Norwegian UN battalion in Lebanon. The UN battalion wasn't that the postmark on the card from the father, but the postage stamp had been Norwegian. Maybe the Norwegian UN soldiers had their own post office with them. "You've become very interested in the newspaper," said her mother dryly when Sophie returned to the kitchen. Luckily, her mother said no more about mailbox and stuff, either during breakfast or later on that day. When she went shopping, Sophie took her letter about fed down to the den. She was surprised to see a little white envelope beside the cookie bin with the other letters from the philosopher. Sophie was quite sure she had not put it there. This envelope was also wet around the edge, and it had a couple of deep holes in it, just like the one she had received yesterday. Had the philosopher been there? Did he know about our secret hiding place? Why was the envelope wet? All these questions made her head spin. She opened the letter and read the note. "Dear Sophie, I read your letter with great interest and not without some regret. I must unfortunately disappoint you with regard to the invitation. We shall meet one day, but it will probably be quite a while before I can come in person to Captain's Bed. I must add that from now on I will no longer be able to deliver the letters personally. It would be much too risky in the long run. In the future, letters will be delivered by my little messenger. On the other hand, they will be brought directly to the secret place in the garden. You may continue to contact me whenever you feel the need. When you do, put a pink envelope out with a cookie or a lump of sugar in it. When the messenger finds it, he will bring it straight to me. P.S. It is not pleasant to decline a young lady invitation to coffee, but sometimes it is a matter of necessity. P.P.S. If you should come across a red silk scarf anywhere, please take care of it." Sometimes personal property gets mixed up, especially at school and places like that. And this is a philosophy school. Yours, Alberto Knox. Sophie had lived for almost 15 years and had received quite a lot of letters in her young life, at least at Christmas and on birthday. But this letter was the strangest one she had ever received. It had no postage stamp. It hadn't even been put in the mailbox. It had been brought straight to Sophie's top secret hideout in the old age. The fact that it was wet in the dry spring weather was also most mystifying. The strangest thing of all was the silk scarf. Of course, the philosopher must have another pupil. That was it. And this other pupil had lost a red silk scarf, right? But how had she managed to lose it under Sophie's bed? And Alberto knows what kind of a name was that. One thing was confirmed, the connection between the philosopher and Hilda Mollernack, but that Hilda, one father, was now confusing their addresses. That was completely incomprehensible. Sophie sat for a long time thinking about what connection there could possibly be between Hilda and herself. Finally, she gave up. The philosopher had written that she would meet him one day. Perhaps she would meet Hilda too. She turned the letter over. She now saw that there were some sentences written on the back as well. Is there such a thing as natural modesty? Wise is she who knows she does not know. True insight comes from within. She who knows what is right will be right. Sophie knew that the short sentences that came in the white envelopes were intended to prepare her for the next big envelope, which would arrive shortly thereafter. She suddenly had an idea. If the messenger came to the den to deliver a brown envelope, Sophie could simply sit and wait for him, or was it a her? She would definitely hang on to whoever it was until he or she told her more about the philosopher. The letter said that the messenger was little. Could it be a child? Is there such a thing as natural modesty? Sophie knew that modesty was an old-fashioned word or shyness, for example, about being seen naked. But was it really natural to be embarrassed about that? If something was natural, she supposed it was the same for everybody. In many parts of the world, it was completely natural to be naked. So it must be society that decides what you can and can't do. When Grandma was young, you certainly couldn't sunbathe topless. But today, most people think it is natural, even though it is still strictly forbidden in lots of countries. Was this philosophy? Sophie wondered. The next sentence was, wisest is she who knows she does not know. Wiser than who? If the philosopher meant that someone who realized that she didn't know everything under the sun was wiser than someone who knew just a little. But who thought she knew a whole lot well that wasn't so difficult to agree with. Sophie had never thought about it before, but the more she did, the more clearly she saw that knowing what you don't know is also a kind of knowledge. The stupidest thing she knew was for people to act like they knew all about things they knew absolutely nothing about. The next sentence was about true insight coming from within, but didn't all knowledge come into people's heads from the outside? On the other hand, Sophie could remember situations when her mother or the teachers at school had tried to teach her something that she hadn't been receptive, and whenever she had really learned something, it was when she had somehow contributed to it herself. Now and then, even she would suddenly understand a thing she'd drawn a total blank on before. That was probably what people mean by inside. So far, so good. Sophie thought she had done reasonably well on the first three questions, but the next statement was so odd she couldn't help smiling. He who knows what is right will do right. Did that mean that when a bank robber robbed a bank, it was because he didn't know any better? Sophie didn't think so. On the contrary, she thought the both children and adults did stupid things that they probably regretted afterwards, precisely because they had done them against their better judgment. While she sat thinking, she heard something rustling in the dry undergrowth on the other side of the hedges nearest the woods. Could it be the messenger? Her heart started beating faster. It sounded like a panting animal was coming. The next moment, a big Labrador pushed its way into the den. In its mouth, it held a big brown envelope, which it dropped at Sophie's feet. It all happened so quickly that Sophie had no time to react. A second later, she was sitting with the big envelope in her hands, and the golden Labrador had scampered off into the woods again. Once it was all over, she reacted. She started to cry. She sat like that for a while, losing all sense of time. Then she looked up suddenly. So that was his famous messenger. Sophie breathed a sigh of relief. Of course, that was why the white envelopes were wet around the edges and had holes in them. Why hadn't she thought of it? Now it made sense to put a cookie or a lump of sugar in the envelope when she wrote to the philosopher. She may not always have been as smart as she would not, but who could have guessed that the messenger was a trained dog? It was a bit out of the ordinary. To put it mildly, she could certainly forget all about forcing the messenger to reveal Alberto Knox's whereabouts. Sophie opened the big envelope and began to read.